works its way out. Don't try to push down on the dough. This isn't a sealing step, just an airing out step. The sealing will come from the fork. And there's an art to crimping. You want to lay the bowl of the fork down on the counter and just roll the tines on until they make that impression. The last thing you want to do is squeeze so hard that you punch a hole in it or cut the dough. There, just roll it on. I'm not pushing down, I'm rolling on. There, work your way all the way around. Notice them overlapping, putting the tine in the slot from the last crimp all the way around. There. Now we move this to its resting place on a piece of parchment, on a sheet pan. I'm going to label it M for mango. And last but not least, we're going to cut some steam holes in it with shears. 1, 2, 3. I think this does a lot less damage than using a knife. Now, the mango filling is definitely my favorite fruit filling, but that isn't to say it's my favorite pie filling. Let's say for a moment that you had 10 ounces of butter in a bag, and to that bag you added 2½ cups of granulated sugar, 1/4 cup plus 1 tablespoon of your favorite cocoa powder, and just a nice heavy pinch of salt. If you sealed up that bag, getting some of the air out thusly, and kneaded it up into a nice paste, you would have my favorite pie filling, an old-fashioned chocolate filling, and you'd have enough for 15 to 20 pies. And dispensing is nice and easy. There you go. Now, you might be wondering, are sweet dessert pies the only pocket pies available? Of course not. There are myriads of savory options. Got beef or vegetable stew? Then you've got a savory pocket pie waiting to happen. Just fill it up as you would with the other fillings, and you've got yourself a nice Cornish pasty. Or perhaps you're in the mood for pizza. No problem. Just spoon on a little sauce and kind of smear it out, not getting too close to the edge. And add your favorite toppings. Just go light. A little bit of grated cheese. I like some green onions. That's just me. Pepperoni's fine because it's nice and flexible. A little red pepper flake. Again, just don't overstuff or you'll be sorry later. A little bit of your egg wash goes on. Again, just half of the dough. And then fold over. And make sure that you work out as much air as possible before you get to the crimping. And of course, when it comes to crimping, again, roll the fork on. You don't want to punch holes in it. When it comes time to cook your pies, you could just park them in a 350-degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes. You can get the job done, but if you ask me, there are some tastier tangents to take. To pan fry your hand pies, you'll need a heavy skillet, preferably cast iron, and you'll want that set over medium-low heat. Relatively low heat because we will be cooking with a wee pat of butter. There we go. You might need a little more depending on how many pies, but this pan will only hold 2. Now, this is a method taught to me by my grandmother, and I think her grandmother taught her. It's a method that's based on wanting to get a lot of flavor out of a relatively small amount of fuel and not a whole lot of fat. In other words, it's poor people working food. Now, when that's melted, we will go with 2 pies carefully and arrange them with the round side or rounded side facing out, and kind of give it a jiggle to make sure they don't stick in those first few minutes of cooking. There. Now, this method, it is said, originated with the slaves, American slaves. After baking fancy lattice-top pies for their masters up in the big house, they would sneak whatever remnants they could out of the kitchen, and they would put together these small hand pies that the workers could kind of sneak out with them into the field so they would get enough to eat. Oddly enough, it's a method that's been used in a lot of different countries. For instance, in China, where there's often not enough fuel or fat to cook with, this is exactly how you treat pot stickers, which is essentially what they are, only we're not going to let them stick. Time to flip. Very careful, don't want to splash any butter. And we're going to let these cook for another 3 to 4 minutes or until golden brown and delicious. There. Now, this isn't actually my favorite method, flavorful though it is. My favorite method is... Brothers and sisters, I'm talking about deep-fried pocket pies. You will require a large deep vessel. Cast iron is good. About 2 quarts of cooking oil. Canola is what I have here. A thermometer that you trust to ensure 375 degrees, which is the target. And you will also want a draining rig of some type. I prefer a cooling rack turned upside down over newspaper. Oh, come on, we've gone over this before. By having direct contact between the metal rack and the newspaper, the paper can wick away oil from the pies faster. You're also going to need an extraction device, like this wire mesh strainer. Oh, last note, before the pies go in, you want to prep them a little differently for the deep fryer. Instead of snipping them across the top and creating steam vents, you want to poke with a fork or dock. That way we will lose less of the filling during the cooking. Now, don't just go dropping them in or you will deeply regret it. You want to basically release them as though they were little fish. And don't go more than about 3 at a time. Now we're going to cook them until they float and are golden brown and delicious. 3 to 4 minutes. And don't forget, you're going to need to change your oil temperature to make up for the heat that's being sucked out by the pies. Keep an eye on your thermometer. You hear that? You hear that kind of deep ping, ping, ping kind of sound? That means that the pies are basically done. It's excess moisture leaving the pie that we don't want to leave the pie, so we will fish them out. Besides, they're nice golden brown and delicious, and we'll space those out on our cooling rack. Now, you're going to want to let these sit and cool for at least 5 minutes. Well, if you don't, you'll burn your mouth, and that's not good eats. Here we have poofy baked pies, blistered deep fried pies, I like those a lot, and the very flat but very caramelized pan fried pies, all made with the exact same dough and all with different fillings. Variety. It's the spice of life. Now, it seems that I have made more than even I could eat at one sitting, so we need to consider some storage options. Now, the fruit pies and the chocolate pies, once those are cooled, you could simply put those in zip-top bags and stash them in your bread box, room temperature, of course, for up to a week. The meat pies, of course, should probably be refrigerated also for up to a week, but you'll want to retoast those so that the dough isn't soggy. Now, if you're looking for long-term solutions, well, then you're going to have to look into your freezer. Simply park your uncooked pies on a metal sheet pan or cookie sheet and freeze them until they are rock hard. Then you can stash them for, I'd say, up to about 3 months in a freezer bag. When it comes time to reheat, stick them straight in a 350-degree oven. On September 14th, 1964, the hand pie world changed forever, for it was upon that fateful day that these were unleashed upon the planet. Like the hand pies of old, this was meant to be consumed on the go, without the aid of utensils. It would fit in a glove compartment, a briefcase, a purse, and it was perfectly sized to slide right into the most American of all culinary inventions. By the time Sgt. Pepper hit the airwaves, this device was the most popular manufactured breakfast food in America. Taste one today, and you'll be a trifle disappointed. Make your own, well, then you're gonna taste the love. Making your own toaster pastries is a snap. Just start with the same dough we've been working with all day and split it in half. Take each one of those pieces and roll it out nice and slow and careful, like with your French rolling pin. Always helpful, until you've got a rectangle that's 12 inches by 10 inches. I like to use this construction tee to actually square things off and divide it into 4 by 5 inch pieces. Then you can just rub your egg wash all the way around and then ladle on whatever filling you want. In this case, I'm using about 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons of blueberry preserves. Then you're going to take your other piece, not pictured, roll it out, cut it into the same sizes so that you've basically got lids, or the tops of your toaster pastries, just like that. But before you put them on, you want to dock them with a fork, anywhere from 8 to 10 times, and then lay them right down on top. Again, you want to make sure you kind of smooth the excess air out, because even though you've docked it, they could blow up like nasty bubbles, and you don't want that. Seal the edges kind of as you go, and then go back and do all your crimping at once. If at any time the dough gets mushy on you, just cover it with wax paper and then place a pan, an upside-down sheet pan that you've kept in the freezer on top. It'll suck out some of the heat and help the fat to harden. Then get to crimping. Slide into a 350-degree oven for 20 minutes. When they're done, they won't be brown at all. Not yet. That's because we're only par cooking them here. They'll finish in your toaster. Let these cool completely, then stash them in a zip-top bag in your bread box, or bag, tag, and freeze for up to a month. That way, when breakfast comes, you'll be ready. All you have to do is pop a couple in the toaster, and you've got breakfast. I think I'll have boysenberry and ginger lime today. Or maybe 2 chocolates. Heck, I'll have a couple of each. I certainly hope that we've instilled in you a healthy desire to take hand pies into your own hands. One basic dough, cunningly crafted, can become a tasty, tantalating envelope for a wide spectrum of goodies, from meat to potatoes to chocolate to anywhere beyond. And the best thing is, you'll never have to share a pie ever again. And you can even keep one in your pocket, just in case. I'm Alton Brown. See you next time on Good Eats.
It's me lucky day.
You know, in comedy, timing really is everything.